What is going on, everybody? This is Anthony with VR365. What is the latest, bro? Yes, so we are at a new time today. First of all, it is Monday. It is November 26th as the March through November continues, and this is a later time of day. I'm looking at the clock right now, and it is 2 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Why are we starting so late? Well, that's a good question. Basically what happened is my two kids got into a fight yesterday, as brothers will sometimes get into fights, and one of the brothers punched the other brother and happened to hit him on his elbow and possibly broke his little pinky finger. And so that is why we did not have a show today at 11 a.m. because I told him yesterday, I said, you know what? You probably don't have a broken finger. It's probably just a pretty bad sprain. I doubt that it's a broken finger. I said, look, why don't, because if it was a broken finger, I would think you'd be like screaming and crying bloody murder, and you would be feeling a lot more pain when it first happened. And that wasn't actually the case. So I told him, look, why don't you go to sleep? Forget about it. We'll revisit it tomorrow. Well, he wakes up this morning and his finger was really huge, really swollen, and it was like black on the tip of it. And so he was kind of freaked out about it. And so we decided to go visit the doctor and have them check it out. And so this earlier today, I was at a doctor's office. We got a slip to go get it x-rayed. I was at the x-ray place doing that, and I just got back here a little while ago. And normally I probably would just cancel the show entirely and just say F it, not supposed to have a show today. But I canceled a show a couple of days ago because we had some technical difficulties, and so I didn't want to do that 2 days. I didn't want to do that after doing it just last week, so definitely did not want to miss a show. So that is why we're having a late afternoon celebration. So what is going on here? I am checking out chat over here, and Paradise Decay is in the building. I know it's pretty late over there in the UK. It is 10 p.m. in the UK, so this is late night talk show host territory over there. Fluke is checking in. What is up? Tezzram is here, Phil Yarn, T-Dub, King Hell, and a whole bunch of Noah. Magic Leap Noah, also a lot of messages from Magic Leap. And Shh, Turtle is also here. Be very quiet. Shh, don't say anything. A turtle is in the building, and Noah is here as well. And I'm not sure if Noah is here to respond to what happened yesterday on the Magic Leap episode. Well, it wasn't a Magic Leap episode. I barely talked about Magic Leap for a few minutes here and there. I was talking about, tabletop basketball and all that kind of stuff. X-ray results. So Main Fan is saying, hey, are there X-ray results? Not yet. I do not know yet if he actually has a broken finger or not. And Phil Yarn says, no more Creed for them. Yeah, exactly. And, if his pinky finger really is broken, I think he has to tape like these two fingers together, and it's on his right hand. It's going to be very difficult for him to continue to play Fallout 76, Fortnite, Destiny 2. I really don't know what they play anymore. They hardly ever play VR, to be completely honest with you guys. It's very rare that I get them actually into VR. But that's what's going on over there. 6 p.m. on 6 p.m. here. Where are you at? Because East Coast would be 5 p.m. So not sure where Conrad Lawrence is. Maybe he's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, right? But yeah, so we are at a very different time right now. Now, I do have some things to go over, but you know what? I thought, why don't we do this? Yesterday, we took a look at comments that were left in the video, and I thought maybe let's do that again. This is going to be a bit of a shit show. I got to be honest with you. I do not have like show notes prepared. I do not have a strategy for today's show. Normally, I would have been figuring that out this morning, but I was in doctor's offices and imaging offices, you know, waiting for x-rays and all these kinds of things. So didn't really have a plan to prepare today, but I did grab some trailers and stuff like that. But I think we could go ahead and start it out by, let's take a look at some of yesterday's comments. And I have not looked at any of these, so I have no idea what is going on. So I will be looking at them along with you guys, and let's go ahead and check this out. And so here we are. These are the comments. I believe this is yesterday's episode. I Am Rhett says, I, for one, am excited to try out Arca's Path. Different is good, and it actually looks like it will be fun to play through, depending on how much they decide to charge, that is. Yeah, that's a good question. And you know what? Arca's Path, look, you do control the game with your head, and that is an immediate turnoff for the vast majority of us. But I'm telling you, if you stick with it, it's pretty freaking cool, and it is really polished. It's dialed in. It is not an indie game. I don't know if I'd call it like a full-bore AAA game, but there's a lot of polish on Arca's Path. Good music, production values, little sound effects and stuff are really nice in Arca's Path. So don't dismiss it entirely. It is going to depend on the price, and hopefully, I mean, really, they should have a demo. I really think Dream Reality Interactive, I'm going to do you guys a solid. Have a demo for this game, because people are initially going to write this game off with the head movement. But if you give them a demo, then they'll probably go in and try it, and they'll probably give it a chance. I Am Rhett is saying, Noah, you should think about selling that Magic Leap yet, bro. Or have you been thinking about selling that Magic Leap yet? And then VR Spry Guy says, Magic Leap. To be fair, Magic Leap at this point isn't a consumer product, is really available for developers so they can make content for the darn thing. That being said, I believe Magic Leap has an uphill battle. Even VR enthusiasts aren't interested in it. It is going to be a long, long time before AR is mainstream. And yeah, you know, that's what a Magic Leap, somebody that is defending Magic Leap, they're going to say, yeah, this is not a consumer product. This is only really for developers. It's so that developers can get their hands on it. They can start making AR type stuff, you know, 5G, baby. 5G isn't here. Actually, if there is something that might save Magic Leap, maybe it is 5G. We know that AT&T is very interested in Magic Leap with 5G. I'm here in Sacramento, California. Verizon is all about that 5G. Who knows? That might help it a little bit there. But see, what I'm talking about, VR Spry Guy, is eventually they got to sell this thing. Like, eventually revenues have to actually come into the company eventually, right? Eventually they have to start selling something and making money, and that's where the problem Magic Leap has. Now, they still have a window of time to work here, and I think they could be able to pivot over to the more industrial side of the coin, the more commercial side of the coin, and maybe that's where their fortunes lie, and maybe that could give them enough of a lifespan where they can eventually pivot back and have a consumer-based product that really looks good and could possibly tempt people. Paul Bellino says, lame is the only thing to say about Magic Leap. Not interested in the slightest. And that kind of tells you, like, the interest level in Magic Leap really has fallen off a cliff. I mean, primarily the interest out there for Magic Leap was just finding out what the hell it was and finding out whether or not this is like a real product, or is this all snake oil salesman type stuff? Is it all, you know, is it all hyperbole? Is it like vaporware? Well, it's actually a real product. It just isn't that freaking compelling, at least at this current point in time. Charles Van Nolan says, dang it, I fell asleep at my computer. Come on, wake up, Charles. What's going on here? John Bardo says, regarding Arca's Path, in the trailer, they show a PSVR, a Vive, and a Rift. Is this even going to come out on the Oculus Go? Just wondering. Actually, that's a good question, John Bardo, and I don't know for sure. I mean, it seems like it would be tailor-made for the Oculus Go and for GearVR in terms of controlling it with your head. But yeah, I don't know for absolute certain if it even has an Oculus Go version. And I was already telling people, maybe you want to get the Oculus Go version, kind of like I play Ken on the Oculus Go. John Bardo also says, did you discuss The Limit already? I watched it and I thought it was okay. Not great. Has potential maybe? Thoughts? You know, I still have not checked that out. What happened, John Bardo, is the very first opinion I saw on The Limit was somebody saying it's absolute garbage. And so I kind of wrote it off after that. But then Paradise Decay and some other people have said it's actually not that bad. In fact, it's kind of halfway decent, but I have not tried it yet. So I haven't tried it. I Am Rhett says, thank God I avoided tabletop basketball, at least at the moment, LOL. Seriously, was almost tempted to pick it up for the same reason you were saying, Anthony, but no reviews made me really scared. And you know what? I'm not a fan of ripping into games. I really am not. Not a fan of that. You know, Red Zone Studios, I wish them the best of luck. I hopefully they can kind of patch up some of the issues, maybe add a zoom mode and kind of button that thing up and get it a little bit better, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Hybrid Energy says, you will not play the previous games. People are complaining about being locked out of their PS1 classics all the time. Okay, this is a kind of interesting discussion right here. Hybrid is talking about, we were talking about the psychological hooks that companies get into us from a standpoint of getting us invested psychologically in their ecosystem. For example, Apple does a freaking brilliant job of this. How many people are so psychologically invested in everything Apple because they have so many songs that they bought off Apple? They have TV shows and movies that they bought off Apple. And the thing is, once you start developing these libraries, you feel like you got to stick with it. You're already you're pot committed, so to speak. Like in a poker game, they call it pot committed. And you're pretty much pot committed if you're Apple and you bought all your songs on Apple, TV shows and all of that. It's a psychological warfare is really what it's all about. But Hybrid Energy and some other people have said, wait a minute, Sony's not a good example for this because they've locked people out of their PS1 classics and all that stuff. But I think PS4 related stuff is going to be different. This is an x86 platform. There's native backwards compatibility by default for PS5. If they lock people out of all of their PS4 purchases on PS5, there will be riots in the streets. I don't think that is going to happen. Now, they locked people out of PS3 stuff because they don't have a legitimate emulator that can run PS3 stuff on the PS4, and so they're locked out by default, and they had an excuse for that. They have no excuse when they go to PS5. I guarantee you they will not lock people out. The PS1 classics, I understand your complaint here, but it's a little bit different. It is a little bit different. I mean, it's not really different, but it's a little bit different. So let's wait and see what happens there. MS Khan says, they have proven that you can make a great football game in VR. 2MD and the tech demo on the Rift was damn cool as well. Oh, wow. That is harsh. The tech demo on the Rift. Oh my goodness. Sanzaru Games. A lot of shade thrown right there. He's talking about VR Sports Challenge on the Oculus Rift, calling it a tech demo. That is pretty harsh. Not sure why we haven't seen a full game yet. And you know what? Speaking of 2MD VR football, I actually went in to 2MD VR football yesterday. I wanted to try the head-to-head mode that has been added to the game. Lo and behold, I find out that the head-to-head mode is local multiplayer only. So basically you have somebody on your TV with a DualShock 4 controller and you have somebody in the headset. Now my PlayStation VR is sitting right over there. There is no TV within 30 feet of it. I don't have a TV. I have monitors. I don't have a TV in this room. And so what I need to do is I need to move my PSVR into the living room, get one of my kids, maybe one that doesn't have a broken pinky, to play some 2MD VR football with me. Because I'm actually curious, do you play defense? Like, does somebody actually play defense? Because normally in 2MD VR football, there's no defense. It's all offense. So I still want to try that. But yeah, interesting thoughts there from MS Khan. Greg's VR. Wow, didn't expect to hear Anthony talking about a Premier League game here in the UK. Nice one. I loved Madden on the Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, and 2K Football on PS2. The only way to make first-person, point-of-view field sports games work in VR is to only control one player at a time or something. Exactly. Like Peyton Manning. Where is the Peyton Manning simulator? That's basically what we don't. We can't have like a real football game, but we can have a quarterback simulator, absolutely, and it could be freaking fantastic. I think it could be awesome. Or maybe a linebacker simulator, maybe the Von Miller experience, and all you are is a freaking linebacker, and that's the only thing you do, and you're rushing the passer, trying to deflect passes, tackling and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that's a great idea, Greg's VR, and I pretty much agree. And that's why 2MD VR football, do you know what 2MD stands for? 2-minute drill. And you're basically just the quarterback, and that's kind of what it's about. That's why they do that. Scion VR says, I agree. We need to get proper sports games in VR to get these pancake sports game fans to buy into the VR ecosystem. Jay Pace says, you nailed the re-pronunciation of McLaren, Anthony. I'm not being pretentious, but I am a dyed-in-the-wool fan of Formula One racing. It's the only sport I watch, and I just want to keep you sounding legit. Yeah, you know, I'm kind of a Ferrari guy, and I'm kind of a Lamborghini guy. You know, being Italian, I am Italian, so I kind of go with those Italian sports cars more than the McLaren. Okay, hopefully I did that right. I am Rhett says, I'll take anything the show offers, Anthony. This show and VR Roundtable are my absolute favorites to watch on any topic. Awesome. Love to hear that. That is our boy, I am Ruts. And I guess he's also saying that Sebastian destroyed another headset with sweat. How? I've sweat, but once I do, I stop doing what I'm doing and wait for a minute. Yeah, well, when it comes to sweat, really what you want to have is you want to have a bunch of extra face cushions, and you just want to swap them out when you get too sweaty. Sweat happens. This is something I've had to deal with my youngest son that plays Creed a lot, and he'll come in here and say, I want to play Creed. Well, actually just says boxing. Doesn't even call it Creed. And I'll let him play Creed, but he gets freaking hot and sweaty, and then I end up with my Rift, and it's got moisture. Oh, it's just awful. I need to get some more face pads. That is a major deal. So anyway, lots of comments. I'm loving this. 18 comments yesterday. That is freaking awesome. That is what we need to have. We need to have a lot more comments. We need to do that because that helps out the show. I'm surprised I was expecting, when I saw 18 comments, I thought more than half of them would be about Steam being an open platform and kind of just going psycho on the fact that I don't really consider Steam to be an open platform, which I know that is verboten. How could I possibly think such a thought? But let's go ahead and check out a little bit of what is going on over here in chat. Lee Tobin is checking in. Australia, never get to catch a live show usually. Tesrim, I don't get why we VR fans are getting things like sharpest X knife in the world on your YouTube recommendations. Don't know what's going on there either. Paul Smith says, if I was going to splash out, I'd much rather get Star VR than Magic Leap. That's an interesting phrase. Splash out. Never heard that one. Does that mean like stunt? Like if I'm gonna floss, if I'm gonna stunt, if I'm gonna do some crazy ass shit, if I'm going to splash out? That's a new one. Kind of like it. Airman 929565 says a lot of investors are going to be pissed if Magic Leap goes broke. Think about it. The Saudi prince, bro. The Saudi prince dropped 500 big ones, and I'm talking millions on Magic Leap. Now, he just kind of offed somebody, so maybe what you reap is what you sow. So maybe the Saudi prince... Actually, I should not be saying this. I'm going to get freaking sniped from many miles away. So scratch all that. I didn't say any of that. King Hell, falling off a cliff, lands in some TNT, cliff comes loose, flattens Magic Leap, and TNT explodes, Willy Coyote style. Okay, King Hell telling an entire story in chat. That is pretty awesome. So anyway, yeah, lots of good stuff. And Ray Delatorre is checking in, and he's saying, wait a minute. Sports Challenge VR is freaking awesome. It's not a tech demo. Don't be throwing that shade over there at Sanzaru Games, one of our favorite developers, makers of the Marvel Powers United VR game as well. And Paradise is saying, yeah, Sebastian killed his Odyssey Plus. Well, you know what? Sebastian is getting $420 with every freaking super chat he gets. So he'll be able to throw it in the gutter and go buy a nutta, which I think is a quote from an old Eazy-E song. You want to talk about going deep into the archives. Okay, splash out means spend cash. I love this, splash out. Never heard of splash out. That is awesome. That must be a UK thing. I'm really, really liking it. That is pretty sweet. Like that. Okay, so what do we have in terms of news? In the news. So let's go to the news, ladies and gentlemen. What is the news? Well, the number one story of the day is I am now a member of the Red Team. Yes, I have joined the Red Team, ladies and gentlemen, an Intel fanboy no more. It is Cyber Monday, and there are cyber deals aplenty, and I went to a website that we like to refer to as Amazonian, Amazon.com. I grabbed myself a Ryzen 2700X CPU. Now, I don't have a motherboard, I don't have a memory, and I'm kind of tapped out after buying this, but I do plan on getting a motherboard and some memory in December probably, and I will eventually put this beast of a computer together. And finally, after 7 long years, 7 incredibly long years, I will put my i5 2500K to bed. It is finally time to put it to bed. Actually, what I'm really going to do is, now that I got, getting a new CPU, motherboard, memory, I'm going to have to get a case as well. And then basically I'm going to have 2 PCs. So I'm going to have my powerhouse PC, and then I'm going to have the old one that I had like 5 months ago before I started any of this upgrade stuff, kind of a backup PC rig. And you know what that means, guys? Vive port. Yes, I will be able to put Vive port on it because I won't have to worry about it killing my computer, because if it kills it, I still got my primary rig. So I'm kind of excited about all of that. Yeah, Ryzen, the Red Team. I am in the building. I am on the Red Team. I splashed out, guys. I splashed out in a major way. Amazon had it for $265, which is a pretty good deal for that 2700X. I did not get the motherboard yet. I will be getting a motherboard at some point. I heard like the A-Rock, is it A-Rock, AZ-Rock, AZ-Rock? Normally I'm an ASUS guy, but I heard there's another motherboard that's kind of good for the Ryzens. And then I gotta pay particular attention to the memory, because the memory with the Ryzens is a really key factor. But yeah, welcome to the dark side, Anthony. That is Orlor. I am part of the Red Team. I've owned AMD video cards in the past. I've had Radeon video cards way back in the days. I think like maybe late 90s I had a Radeon video card, but I've never had a Radeon CPU. I mean, I've never had an AMD CPU in any computer ever. So this will be the first one ever, and hopefully it works out nicely. VR Spry Guy says, good for you, Anthony. I just purchased parts for a new upgrade. I was going to buy an i7 8700K, but they sold out on Newegg. Yeah, I did see that deal as well, and that was a really good deal, and it combined a motherboard, I think, as well. Pretty good deals overall. Oh, Reckoner VR is in the building. Has anyone heard of that rabbit thing that Anthony does on the first day of every month? I don't know what the hell that is. Excuse me. Well, the rabbit thing is, it goes back to a radio show called The Don and Mike Show, which was a very popular show back in the 90s in the Washington, D.C. area, and for some crazy-ass weird reason, super popular here in Sacramento as well. Don and Mike were like big-time radio shock jocks, so to speak. Like, really funny. I really love Don Geronimo, and he was the guy that always said rabbit. So that's where it comes from. He said, back in those days, he always said Asus VRMs went to pot. He always said that it was an East Coast thing, and then I've had a number of people say it was a UK thing. So I don't know, but it's rabbit, rabbit. But we're still a few days away from rabbit. You're kind of getting the jump a little bit early there, Gary, a little bit ahead of time. Okay, let's see, what else can we go to now? Well, I have some other trailers that we can pop up on the screen. Let's see, what can we get to here? Well, you know what? I'm going to throw up a trailer for a game called Slightly Heroes. Now, I believe this was a... what do you call it? What is the dream thing? Daydream. I completely forgot I was going to say Dreamcast. The Daydream platform. I believe Slightly Heroes was a game on the Daydream platform, but I think it's coming to the Rift and the Vive. I don't think it's coming to PSVR, but anyway, I got a trailer for it. Why don't we go ahead and throw it on the screen and see what this is all about? Alrighty, so that is Slightly Heroes, and you know what, there's something, this is in the news for some reason, but I'm trying to remember what the reason is. So let's go ahead and go over to our web browser window here thing. Let me go over here to this, and so at Arthan's VR, I know there was something on here about this game. Let's see here if I can find it. Slightly Heroes. Okay, Slightly Heroes is coming to Steam next month. GearVR Oculus Go version is also in the works. So yeah, this is a casual multiplayer shooter, and it will be coming in the month of December. So that is what Slightly Heroes is all about. So just wanted, yeah, Dreamcast 2 confirmed, not exactly. Daydream, it was at the top of, on the tip of my tongue, but couldn't quite remember. Okay, so I think we have a couple of other trailers that I wanted to show off real quick that we could get into on this as this shit show continues. And trailer numero 2, Wrench. Remember that demo Wrench where you can get in there and be an auto mechanic? I know it's been all of our dreams to be an auto mechanic and to have a VR game that lets us simulate taking apart an engine and reassembling it. Well, now we can bleed the brakes. Bleed the brakes. It's kind of like splash out. Bleed the brakes, okay? So we have a new trailer for Wrench bleeding the brakes. Let's go ahead and check this trailer out. Alrighty, so that is Bleeding the Brakes. That is a new trailer for Wrench. And of course, there was a demo that was available on the Oculus Store. I'm assuming the demo is still out there that you can try. And I'll still admit, like, I don't want to talk too much smack about this because you know what? This guy has done a freaking hell of a job. I mean, look at how clear and crisp and clean everything is in this game, and I've been in the demo, and I can tell you that it looks good. It looks very good, very clean, very crisp in the demo. And if you are kind of, you know, like an entry-level mechanic, or if you like know just enough about being an auto mechanic to be dangerous, but not enough to really be a good mechanic, this could be a great thing to get into. I mean, think of the training possibilities that are here for VR. And, you know, you can bleed the brakes with the best of them. That is a new Wrench trailer. Does look pretty sweet. One of the things that I like about Wrench is, like, you'll grab one of the tools or you'll grab one of the parts of the car, and you can basically just set it right there, let it go, and it just stays right there. And you can grab something else, set it right there. And I like the way it just stays there, and you can move it around. So a really good job on this. I have no interest in cars other than driving them. I know how to put gas in my car. I know how to put some air in my tires. And on a very, very, very good day, I might even be able to change my wiper blades without any extra help. That's about the extent of it. So I'm not really the target market for this, but this is pretty cool. I'm a fan of what they're doing here with Wrench. Okay, I think I have another trailer, a couple other trailers to grab. So let's see here. I am going to take, oh, I know what. Here's a trailer I want to show you guys. This is called Zombies Only Live Once. And now this trailer is 480p. And it's really crappy and ugly looking. I don't believe it's the official trailer, but it's the only trailer that I have for this. But there is a new game. It is coming in December. It's called Zombies Only Live Once, and it is being developed by Game Cooks, who are the developers of Vindicta, which I believe Vindicta, one of the most criminally, absolutely criminally underrated games on the Vive and the Oculus Rift. I'm a big fan of Vindicta. I felt like Vindicta just had great playability. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. It's called Zolo. Zombies Only Live Once. Let's take a look at this trailer. Or maybe let's not look at this trailer. Don't know what happened there, but I've got a blank window. So let's not look at that trailer. But you know what we could do? I don't know what happened there. That's a first. Okay. The browser window, because I do have the Steam page for this. So this is what I'm talking about here. Zombies Only Live Once. The trailer was 480p, and I threw it in a program to try to convert it to 1080p so it wouldn't screw up my windows and all that. Maybe somehow I jacked it up. But yeah, this is the Steam page. Zombies Only Live Once. It is coming in December. Developer is Game Cooks, and it says a zombie low poly cubic style action adventure PC VR game. Feel the brute strength with your fist punches. Experience the firepower with a large arsenal and exotic weapons. Launch your victims into thin air and score higher. That is Zombies Only Live Once, and it is coming sometime in the month of December. We could take a look at some of these screenshots real quick. You can tell it does have this very low poly kind of a style. It is very indie styled and kind of has, like, you know, the Minecraft looking characters. See, kind of like Just in Time Incorporated a little bit, kind of has that kind of art style as well. But I'm a big fan of Vindicta. I really liked Vindicta, so I am curious to see what is going on here with Zombies Only Live Once. But yeah, that is the game there. Don't know what happened here. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I've never actually seen a trailer just come out blank like that, but that's exactly what happened here. So that is interesting. Okay, let me see if I have another trailer I can go to real quick. Oh, you know, one of the things I did want to go to is I saw this on, I believe it was the Vive subreddit. There is a new video about Inverse Kinematics. You know how I'm always saying that I think one of the major things we need to do in the world of virtual reality is we need to bring our bodies into VR. And I've said this over and over and over again. This is something I'm harping on all the damn time. We need to bring our physical bodies into VR. And a lot of games have tried to do this where, you know, they'll give you your arms and they'll give you your wrists and they might even try to give you your shoulders. And I recently played Transposed, you know, that game from Secret Location. I'm a fan. It's a good puzzle game. It's got a really cool Tron-like world that you're in. I really like the green robot-looking body that you're in, and it does a pretty damn good job of inverse kinematics, but still doesn't quite dial it in perfectly. Same thing with Zero Caliber. It tries to give you this body. You got a chest, you got your stomach. It's hard to see your shoes down there. It's hard to pick things up. Inverse kinematics are not quite perfect. But I saw this video. I think this looks interesting. I'm going to try to open this up, and hopefully it doesn't just turn black on me. Let's see what happens here. Okay, good. Okay, this one has no audio, so no audio on this particular video, but yeah, basically what they're doing is they're showing a little bit of some footage of how they're doing the inverse kinematic. Oh no, there is some audio. It just took a while. Okay, I'm going to switch back. All right, not the most tremendously exciting trailer right here for this inverse kinematics, but I'm telling you, I'm all for this. I really do believe we need to dramatically improve this. Now, what I really want and what I think we need for future VR platforms, and I think it needs to be baked into the platform from the very, very beginning. That's why I'm looking forward to like this new Valve HMD or maybe HTC Vive 2.0, because I'm hopeful that eventually somebody is going to recognize the idea of getting our bodies into VR. And I think the way to do this is with some type of external Kinect-like device, where it combines with the tracking of the controllers and the headset, and then it has some kind of external camera that is analyzing your skeleton based on all this information, and it's putting it into the game in real time. That's kind of what I'm hoping for on a future platform at some point in time. We're probably still several years away, but in the meantime, if we can have a really good inverse kinematic solution, that will help things out. Now, this inverse kinematics on this video does look pretty good. I mean, the best games I've ever played in regards to inverse kinematics probably goes back to like Lone Echo and Echo Combat, Echo Arena, and all of that. I think their inverse kinematics is probably the best. I'm curious what anybody else thinks. What do you think is the best inverse kinematics here? But that's what these guys are going for. It looks pretty good. I mean, the arms, the movement of the arms look pretty good in this video here. So I'm hopeful that, because really what it is, a lot of times what I've noticed is your hand, your wrist, they can get that pretty good. Even up to your elbow, they can get it pretty good. But when it gets to this part of your arm, that's where it all kind of goes astray. And so you'll be moving your arm around, and then you'll notice that this part is way the hell off track and it's not lining up. And so we do need some better inverse kinematics. And so I did see this video. I thought it was kind of cool. All right, let's go ahead and see what some people are talking about over here in chat. Let's see what's going on. Orlor says, the zombies look like they came from Minecraft. Yeah, that's kind of this low poly cubic style, I guess. Yeah, out of ammo, kind of has this graphical look. Just in Time Incorporated does a great job with that kind of graphical style. I kind of wish I had a decent trailer for it, but yeah, I couldn't find a trailer. Game Cooks, what is going on, guys? Make a decent trailer for your game and put it on YouTube so all of us can grab it. But I will, you know, going back to Vindicta, Did anybody play Vindicta? Oh my goodness, I love that game. But you know, it was weird. I was kind of on an island all by myself. Nobody else really liked Vindicta. Like, I know that Gary and Steve and I believe Chris, I think they all tried it on VR Roundtable. And I was like the only one saying, I love this game. I love Vindicta. And nobody else really cared that much about it. But the thing that I remember with Vindicta, it was one of the first games that did this, you know, to move around. And I felt like, for me, I was moving around like this, and it was like I was roller skating. It was like I was roller skating through the levels with the greatest of ease, and it just worked so perfect. And I could just roller skate all around the levels, and then bam, 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 you know, shooting all the bad guys worked super great for me. I loved Vindicta, but so many people just don't say anything about Vindicta. It kind of flies under the radar. Okay, so we're talking about some of the best inverse kinematics. Gary says Lone Echo. You know, it's all about Lone Echo. And yeah, it definitely is. Gunheart. Phil Yarn says Gunheart had the best, followed by Lone Echo. And Paradise Decay says, I've seen those zombies in another game. You probably have. A lot of these developers, like, look at the zombies in Brookhaven Experiment. They're in all kinds of games. I remember when I saw the zombies from Brookhaven Experiment, they were in In Death. When I first saw the In Death trailer, and I kind of thought In Death might be like a crappy game, because like, oh my god, they're using the zombies from Brookhaven Experiment. How lame is that? But I guess it's it's a common thing. A lot of developers do that. Okay, I'm just throwing on a random trailer here. Mainfan says, I have Vindicta, liked it, but didn't beat it. See, the thing I liked about Vindicta too is they had these spiders that were crawling all over the place. And normally spiders would scare the living daylights out of me. I'm not a fan of spiders, but they were robots. So it didn't bother me as much because, like, my brain, some part of my lizard brain was like, wait a minute, that's a robot. I'm not as scared of robots as I am living, breathing creatures, you know, that are made of DNA and stuff. Robots don't scare me quite as much. And so I was able to deal with all the enemies in Vindicta. Phil Urine says, I have not played Vindicta. I think I might have heard it had weird movement. Yeah, well, it was one of the first games that did this kind of movement to get around the levels if you wanted to kind of skate around the levels. And I thought it did a fantastic job. Like so smooth. I could just kind of skate all around the levels. And it's kind of a good exercise game. You get a little bit of exercise doing that as well. Gary is checking in. He says, I thought Vindicta was okay. It came out at an awkward time. I think a lot of other stuff to play, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I just remember, I mean, it's not like Steve and Gary were like saying it was horrible or anything. They just weren't as hyped on it as I was. And I think they were kind of surprised I was so hyped on it, but really liked it. That's Vindicta, what we're talking about there. Okay, what can we do now? Let's see. It's about 2:42. We can go ahead and bounce over to our web browser here, and we could check out, see what is going on some of the news sites or maybe some of the subreddits as well. And Virtual Desktop is finally coming to Oculus Go and GearVR this week. That is kind of cool. So I'm guessing this is like connecting to your PC. Haven't really read too much about that. And then, of course, GearVR has a whole bunch of things about all the different holiday sales. And one of the things I did notice here, I was looking at their Windows VR mixed reality. You know, they have a breakdown on this, and I don't know if this is still active, but one of the deals that was kind of good was the Acer Windows Mixed Reality on Amazon, $180. And I believe this is brand spanking new. Okay, here it is, $178.68. That is the Acer headset, and I'm pretty sure this is brand new. Yeah, this is brand new. So not bad at all. If you missed out, because I know Walmart, I think, had this for $180 for a while as well. And so I know a lot of people would rather kick out like another $120 or whatever it would be to get the Samsung mixed reality, especially like Samsung Plus for $299. So a lot of people would rather just pay a little bit extra for that. Okay, another thing we could do is go ahead and bounce over to the Vive subreddit and see what is going on. Oh, you know what? There's actually an interesting topic in the Vive subreddit that I wanted to touch on in today's show if possible. See, here's that inverse kinematics thing that I was talking about. This was the video that I just played a minute ago. But you know what? There's an interesting little take on here that I thought was kind of cool. Let me see if I can find it. This guy's saying, anybody playing transpose? I need to jump in here and say, yes, I am playing transpose, and I like it a lot. Where is the thread that I wanted? Let me go to this second page. Okay, so this is the one I'm kind of interested in here. This guy says, the state of PC VR seems to be in transition. Do you jump in or do you hold off for now? And I think that's an interesting topic that we could jump into really quick here. For example, okay, I'm going to throw a different trailer on so we just have some different trailers going in the background while I talk about this. But imagine for a second that you've got a good buddy that is a flat gamer, and they normally, you know, they're a pancake gamer, and they've heard about VR. You've told them about VR a ton of different times. They may have tried your VR a couple of times, but they just weren't that interested in it. But somehow, some way, a couple of years later, now they're actually interested, and they're kind of considering jumping into the VR game. And maybe they're tempted by some of these deals on Oculus Rifts. Maybe they're tempted by this Samsung Odyssey Plus kind of deals, or maybe some of these other Windows mixed reality deals, or whatever it happens to be. And the question is, what would your advice to these people be? Would your advice be, you know what, yeah, jump in, go ahead, grab a VR headset right now, or would you actually caution them not to do this? And this is something I thought about, and I was kind of conflicted about it, and honestly, I would probably warn people against it. I'm talking about gamers, okay? I'm not talking about just casual people out there. I think casual people out there will be more forgiving, but I'm talking about your hardcore gamers. The problem is I think a lot of these hardcore gamers, they could come over, maybe they get Skyrim, maybe they get Beat Saber, maybe they get Fallout 4 VR, but after a couple of months of being entertained with some of this stuff, they're going to be like, okay, what's next? What's next? Now what? Now what? Where's Borderlands in VR? You know, where's Destiny 2 in VR? Why not Red Dead? Why isn't Red Dead Redemption in VR? Where's Grand Theft Auto in VR? See, I feel like they're going to have all these complaints about where is the steady diet of AAA VR games, and we don't really have that steady diet. So I kind of feel like I wouldn't advise somebody to, like a hardcore gamer that's a flat gamer that's maybe thinking about VR. I don't know that I would actually tell them to come over here, because I think a lot of these people are going to kind of end up disappointed. And I'm kind of curious, what are your guys' thoughts? Would you guide them to VR, or would you tell them maybe hold off for now? You know, we still don't have the AAA games. I mean, on the one hand, you could tell them, look, we've got this gigantic library, this back library of good games. Now, they might not be Grand Theft Auto 5, it might not be Battlefield, it might not be Call of Duty, it might not be all the franchises that they're familiar with, but we've got a great back library of VR games. We've got Talos Principle VR, we've got all the Serious Sam games, we've got Subnautica, we've got Alien Isolation, and actually there is a tiny bit of news about Alien and VR, and I'll get to that in just a second here. We've got Alien Isolation, we've got Super Hot, we've got Beat Saber, Skyrim, Fallout 4, you know, Elite Dangerous, Eve Valkyrie, you know, so there's a backlog of a lot of these games, and maybe that would be enough to entertain them. But I don't know, I feel like they're so demanding and they're so spoiled living in that console world where they just get every game delivered to them on a silver platter, and I just feel like they would probably end up more disappointed than anything. So I'll go ahead and see what some people are talking about here in chat. Out of Bounds says, if you hold off now, you'll be holding off for a long time. That said, it's tricky to set up and needs to be simplified for the average consumer. Yeah, the friction is off the charts when it comes to VR. Friction is a really big part of it. Orlor says, Orlor says, give the price of the headset and VR capable computer along with the state of the games at the moment. I would tell them to hold off. It's probably a better idea. And Greg's VR says, I'd tell them to wait. Now, if they're very interested in prawn, you might tell them to get an Oculus Go. You know, it's a great way for prawn, Netflix, YouTube, and things like that. And then they can kind of dabble in a little bit of VR stuff, but they would also be incredibly disappointed with 3 degrees of freedom and only having a single controller and all of that. Greg's VR says you'd have a VR headset already if you're truly into it. Greg's VR says casualers need less friction to keep the hook. See, I actually think casual, like really casual players would be more open to VR than like your Call of Duty, Destiny 2, Fortnite, those people. See, those people, I think those are the people, they buy VR, they play it for a couple of months, and then it's collecting dust, and they've gone back to Fortnite, and they've gone to Red Dead Redemption and Fallout 76 and all of that. Those are the people that I think is probably not a good idea. Where casuals, see casuals, I think you could say, look, man, there's stuff like The Great Sea. There's stuff like Age of Sail, you know, all these Google Spotlight stories. There's stuff like Crow the Legend. There's stuff like Berlin Blitz and Blade Runner 2049 Memory Lab and the lab itself and First Contact and, you know, all of these VR experiences that maybe aren't games. And then there's a lot of good casual stuff. Cyberpunk VR and HoloBall and Racken NX. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of casual that kind of anybody could get into and super hot and stuff like that. So I kind of think the casuals actually are better off, where I think the hardcore gamers are kind of, it's a problem there. Okay, Paradise Decay says, oh, has anyone else seen the rumor of a new Alien VR title? And yeah, this goes back over to Upload VR. I'll switch over here, and you know what? I don't have Upload VR queued up right now at the moment, but we can grab it real quick. But you know what? This is kind of like what we would call clickbait. This is kind of a clickbait story. Okay, so let's scroll down here. Yeah, a new Alien VR game could be announced next week. They really have no facts whatsoever on this. Well, not whatsoever. Okay, here's what they have, is this tweet right here. And I should have had this on my tweet window, you know, my tweet of the day type of thing here. Worlds will change on December 6th. So this is Jeff Keighley for the Game Awards, which is coming on December 6th. And why does this suggest aliens? Well, it's kind of like the font of like the, what is it, the corporation that's in Aliens? It's like the Wayland or whatever. I'll go back here and they'll talk about it here. It is, yeah, okay. The Game Awards host Jeff Keighley has begun teasing next week's show, which takes place on December 6th. Keighley tweeted the message, worlds will change, along with a teaser image. Okay, yeah, what's this got to do with Alien? Okay, Weyland-Yutani, the company that is in the backdrop of the whole Alien franchise. You know, this is the company that Ripley worked for and all of that. Weyland-Yutani. So it's kind of that font and that kind of look. So what this does mean is there probably is going to be a really big Alien game that will be announced on December 6th, but there's no information whatsoever that it is going to have VR support. Having said that, I'm sure that, I don't know if Sega is still involved. I know Sega published Alien Isolation, and Creative Assembly handled the development duties. But Fox Next, which is a subsidiary of 20th Century Fox, they've done a lot of work in VR already. Of course, they did the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes in VR, which probably didn't go very well for them. I don't know they sold a lot of copies of that, so I don't know that it turned out to be that great of an experience for them. But Alien Isolation, I mean, people rant and rave about this. If you get the VR mod for Alien Isolation, it is pretty freaking awesome. In fact, easily I would say one of the 50 best VR games that are out there across any platform would be Alien Isolation once you add that VR mod to it. And they have to be well aware of that. They have to be well aware of the fact that so many people are playing that. So maybe this will be a big, major Alien game that will also have some VR support. We got to hope for that. Although you really got to wonder, why hasn't Sega or Creative Assembly or whoever, and maybe it's a licensing thing, but why haven't they gone back and basically like added that mod in? I mean, they would have to do it themselves, or maybe they would have to contract with that person or something, whatever, get that mod into the base game and actually sell Alien Isolation VR. I mean, it works great. It works fantastic. Why haven't they done that themselves? And that mod, of course, was based on some work that they were doing behind the scenes internally at Creative Assembly to make a VR version of that, and they kind of scrapped it, but somebody else got what they did and kind of piggybacked off of that and then made the full entire mod. Why did they scrap it in the first place? Is there worries maybe about freaking somebody out too much and like liabilities and stuff, you know, scaring the living daylights out of somebody, and then they like their heart skips a beat or something because they're so freaked out? I mean, who knows? We don't know what could possibly happen. Sometimes I think some of these game developers, especially ones that haven't been involved in VR very much, they might be kind of fearful of that type of thing. And maybe that's why they've never officially done VR. So I don't know. This rumor doesn't have a whole lot behind it. It is pretty thin there. I mean, it does appear like we will have an Alien game in the Pancake world, but whether it has VR support at all is very skeptical, to be sure. Okay, checking over here over at chat. King Hell says, I'm looking forward to all the ads. And Greg's VR says, Keely's just discovered Alien Isolation. And Reckoner, well, that's Gary. He's saying, there's another game I need to get back to, Mother VR Alien Isolation mod. Yeah, I barely got into it, man. I finally did get that a long time ago. It was on sale. I finally got it and tried it, and it's really good. Like, it is really freaking good. But I barely got to the part where the alien just starts showing up, and I haven't even seen the freaking robots. That's how early I was in the game. I didn't even get to the robot part. So I really need to go back in there. And Greg's VR says, just come from opposite directions to the same destination. AAA and less friction will pull them in. And so, yeah, they're talking about the latter group are the same as casuals. Okay, I'm probably not reading all these messages in the right order. Orlor says, didn't play the VR mod, but I played the flat screen game. I wasn't really all that impressed by it. But it is very different in VR because you are in the game. You're in the game and there's a freaking alien running loose and you're going down some creepy ass hallways. It is pretty freaking awesome. Alien Isolation VR mod, absolutely worth checking out. All right, guys, well, that's pretty much going to go ahead and do it for today's show. Like I said, kind of a shit show. Didn't really have time today, unfortunately, to prepare for today's episode and have like stories prepared and stuff like that. You know, I was dealing with some other stuff. But you know what? Got a show out there today. That's the most important thing. Now, tomorrow, I should be back at the same bat channel and the normal bat time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific. So we should be back to normal tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific. So I will see everybody then. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this particular episode of VR 365 Live. Oh, once again, before I leave, remember, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet subscribed. It's an awesome way to help us out and create that momentum. Also, go ahead and like the video. And even more importantly is maybe leave a comment at the very end of this video, not in chat, but like on the video itself. I'm loving these comments. They really help tremendously, I believe, in terms of YouTube's like algorithm for presenting channels to people that have never discovered it before. I think it helps out a lot from that standpoint. And I will continue to examine the comments at the top of shows. I think that's kind of a cool feature.